Okay, so we are back to talking about the allocating of cost, and we are going to be talking about allocating cost from service departments. But what do we do when the service departments also service other service departments? Okay, that means we've got some allocation issues. And we've got a couple of different ways that we can go about handling that. All right, so up until this point, what we've seen is that we trace cost directly to departments or allocate them to those specific departments, whether they be support departments or operating departments. We get those costs to where they need to go if we can trace them straight there. We've also seen how we allocate such things as our administrative or corporate cost on down to divisions and on down to specific departments or channels, if you will. We then allocate plant administration cost on down into those support departments and operating departments based on whatever our allocation is going to be based upon. And then we get down to part C, where we are at the level where we need to allocate the support department's cost onto the other departments, those operating or production departments that they actually support. Okay, so for example, in the textbook, what we're talking about is the engineering and production control department. They are a support department. We're also talking about the materials management department. They are also a support department. Again, what happens if engineering and production control department gives some support to the materials management department? And what happens if materials management department also gives some support to the engineering and production control department? This is what we have at issue here. All right, so they're both support departments. They give each other reciprocal support. So how do we go about allocating them between the two different support departments? All right, so we've got three different ways that I'm going to show you here. The first one is called the direct method, and it literally skips over those inner support department allocations. We're going to take those support department costs and we are going to allocate them directly to the operating departments and nothing to the brother or sister support department, if you will. Okay, so we're going to go direct allocation straight to the operating department, skipping that reciprocal between support department allocation. Fairly easy, cut and dry. The second one is called the step down method, and it partially allocates support department cost to the other support departments. And then lastly, we've got one called the reciprocal method, and it fully allocates support department cost to other support departments. All right, I'm going to do each one of these in a video by itself. That way, if you need to go back and look at them individually, you can get to them quickly without having to fast forward or whatever. All right, so let's take a look at the direct method first. Again, what we're trying to do is we're taking the support department's cost, all of the costs that they have in their particular department, and then allocating those on further so that we can continue to take the cost and spread them around to where they need to go so that we can make better decisions. All right, so we are going to go directly with these costs to the operating departments. We're going to ignore the fact that we supply services to other or fellow support or service departments. All right, so the direct method does not allocate support department costs to the other support departments. Here is our data. All right, so we've got this company Our support departments are the engineering and production control department and the materials management department. We've been doing some stuff with materials management already, but now we're going to look at how do we get the costs that are in these two further on into the operating departments. Okay, so the engineering and production control, you can see that they have budgeted overhead cost of $300,000, and materials management has $264,000 worth of budgeted cost. The engineering and production control department has engineers that work in the other departments, and these engineers all have an annual salary. Alright, so in the materials management support division or department, that particular engineer's salary is $36,000. The machining department has an engineer in it, and his salary is $60,000. And then the assembly department has an engineer there with a salary of $24,000 for a total of $120,000 in engineering salaries. We are going to allocate out this $300,000 in overhead based on engineering salary dollars. And the fact that we're going to do the direct method here initially, I'm going to say that we are going to skip including this $36,000 in our calculation, because we're going to take this $300,000 and we are going to allocate it directly to only the operating departments, the machining and the assembly. Alright, so they've got $60,000 and $24,000 in salaries. Again, we're going to use that weight thing that we've been using. You guys have seen it here. You've seen it in statistics. You have seen it in your finance classes. We're going to use the same deal. 60 plus 24 equals 84,000 total. 60,000 is a certain percentage of the 84,000, and 24,000 is a certain percentage of the 84,000. The 50 and 20 that you see here now includes the 30% for the 36,000. Okay? So do not use these numbers. Do not use this in helping us to calculate the percentage of use. That's not going to help us. Alright, what about the materials management folks? The materials management, we are talking about material handling labor hours is our allocation. We've seen this already earlier in our other examples. Alright, so we have 4,000 hours total. We are now going to say that that other 400 hours is actually getting used in the engineering and production control department. Okay, so 400 plus 800 plus 2,800 equals 4,000. But again, we are not going to take this 264,000 and divvy it up between everybody that gets touched with labor hours. We're going to skip this $400 or 400 hours of engineering and production control use. We are going to take this 264,000 and we're going to allocate it only and directly to the operating departments. All right, so 800 plus 2,800 equals 3,600. 800 is 3,600. 800 is a certain percentage of 3,600, and 2,800 is a certain percentage of 3,600. Those are the weights that we are going to use so that those departments are going to get a certain amount of this 264,000. Do not use this 20 and the 70 again, because right now that 20 and 70 is leaving that other 10 for this 400. So do not use these percentages. You need to recalculate. All right, so engineering and production control has $300,000 that needs to be allocated on. We're going to do the direct method. It's going to go directly to operating, skipping the other service or support departments that also use some of the engineering and production control time. Again, we are utilizing it based on the share of engineering salaries for this particular company. And machining has $60,000 worth, and assembly has $24,000 worth. We're ignoring what materials management has because we're doing the direct method. Alright, so 60 plus 24 equals $84,000. Again, $300,000 total. A certain percentage of that is going to get allocated to machining, and the remaining amount is going to get allocated to assembly. So here's your math. 60,000 over 84,000 equals a certain percentage. Take that, multiply it times 300,000, and you get 214,286. What goes to assembly? We can do it with the formula, or you can do it like this. 300,000 minus 214,286 equals a number. Here it is all spelled out though. Assembly has 24,000 of the 84,000 in salaries. Multiply whatever that percentage is times 300,000 and you will get 85,714. Again, this is the direct method. What about materials management? Materials management has 264,000 that needs to be allocated on to the operating departments. Again, we're using the direct method. It's going straight there. We are not going to take some of that 264,000 and give a piece of the pie to the engineering and production control. We're not going to do that. We are going to utilize budgeted material handling hours of those two operating departments only. Machining has 800 hours budgeted to them. Assembly has 28 budgeted hours to them. Those two total together equals 3,600. Again, 264,000 is going to be divvied up based on that weight of 800 divided by 3,600 equals a percentage. If we do the math, you should get 58,667 that gets allocated to machining. And the remainder is going to go to who? Assembly. Okay, so 264,000 minus that, or again, spelling it out formula, 2,800 over 3,600 equals a percentage. Multiply that times 264 to give you 205,333. Fairly cut and dry. Direct. Skip the other service or support departments. Do not try to show that relationship. Again, here's where you can see that the allocation has taken place. If you're reading your textbook, you can see that this 300,000 is a minus here because we're allocating it on down here in this row right here. And then the 264,000 is getting allocated down here. Alright, so that's what it looks like when we allocate it on. And notice that the machining and assembly, we can total up what they have in those total amounts. Here's also what it looks like if you wanted to see it in a picture form. Okay, so we've got the support departments over here. Engineering and production control had 300,000. 214,286 of it went to machining. 85,714 went to assembly. Straight to those operating departments. Materials management, 264. Straight to the machining department, 58,667, and directly to the assembly department, 205,333. Easy. Spend some time on it.